All right, so I just wanted to show a kind of new project here that I have. I've worked on this car before, but I figured I'd introduce it to the channel. Just a really cool opportunity that I had to work on such a rare car that everyone knows about. It's the black one behind me. It is a Boss 429. Originally has 18,000 miles on it. I think just over that. Numbers matching driveline, a lot of original metal. This car was actually here before, not on the channel, but I fixed all the sheet metal on it. A lot of patch work was done to it to save as much original metal. Everyone always says about how much stuff I just fully replace panels. It's more of a time thing, cost-wise. It's cheaper to do it that way. But for this car, we wanted to save as much original of the car that could be. I actually patched the hood, doors, quarters, taillight panel, trunk lid. Did a lot of patchwork, which I'll walk around and I'll show you about where the lines would have been that I made my patches. But everything's been done on it. It's painted inside out, ready to put together. I just got all the parts from the owner of the car to be able to start going through them, see what's ahead of me in this project. So I'm going to go to completion of this car from where you see it to where it drives out the shop, all done. So I'm excited about doing this car. It's cool when you get an opportunity to work on something that's so different. There's so many little differences in cars, especially like this one, because they changed so much to make this car. So yeah, I'll just walk around and show you some of the pieces of it, starting with the engine here, which is the original engine. Original VINs on it. The VIN's still stamped on the transmission. It's all pretty much stuck together, ready to drop in the car. But I will be changing the exhaust on it actually, because it's going to be driven and enjoyed as a car by the owner. So maybe a few changes here and there to what the car is, but nothing that will ultimately take away from what the car is as a whole, of being an original Boss 429 with all of the original pieces that I have for the car that were taken off of the car. It was a very complete car whenever he had bought it. So as you can see, everything's pretty much together there on the engine, transmission, shifter, ready to go. So just the racks of parts for the car, all the original stuff, some new stuff that he had already gotten, but I just kind of went through it, categorized it. All my interiors on the shelf, the suspensions down there, which I had blasted and powder coated a while ago. So a good bit of that stuff is ready to go, but got to restore a lot of stuff here for the car before it goes on. But all the original stuff is here, really nice shape. You can actually see this is the firewall insulation, the original insulation, which is really nice shape. So just a matter of cleaning up some of the original pieces to see what can be used, or if there's anything that needs to be new, but try to restore as much of the original stuff as possible. Even the original door panels are extremely nice, so they'll get cleaned up, reused. Stuff like the interior trims, they're perfect. As you can guess, the car was stored really well over the years, and like I said, it's 18,000 miles on it, so the stuff wasn't really worn in. Even the seats just have some minor tears in them, but those will get reupholstered so that stuff doesn't stick out like that. But just sitting out, ready to go on all this. And this car is a Raven Black Boss 429, black interior. Beautiful car. The paint on it is very nice shape. It was just finished just actually in December, and then it got dropped off here to get ready for me to start working on it. But just to give you an overview of things that were saved on this car, this is the original trunk lid up until maybe about 4 inches up here on this lip, and then some of the inside channel was replaced with a new trunk lid, and then the rest up is all original. Everything was blasted, taken down the bare before it was fixed, just so I can really see what all the rust was in the car. so I can save as much as possible. Quarters, large majority are original. I believe on here, I believe this is the original hole. I'd have to look on the inside. So it was replaced under this and then went right around the arches here of the wheelhouse and then a couple inches up on that bottom of the front. But continuing up the door, it was probably just above this body line. I'd have to look at my old pictures, but it might have been about an inch above that body line. The whole way up is a new section of a new door. Some of the inner skeleton structure of the door is out of a new door, but the rest all up is the original door. Roof is original. The fenders were really the only sheet metal that were replaced. After getting them blasted, they were just so rusted in all various spots. It wasn't a normal, for some reason, it must have been the way the car was sitting over years, but normally they're just rusted out on that bottom and the rest is fine, which I would have patched it, especially with one of these cars because they're rolled originally, which I recreated how the Bosses were done. There's a rod inside of there and then it's bent around it, and like this car had the rods in it, so I left them in and actually welded it, tacked it in place whenever I redid these, or these are new reproduction fenders. But these fenders had rust on the bottom, they had rust up here on the top side and then scattered throughout the top actually. So they were a little too far gone to try and reuse. Front buckets are original. The hood is probably 90% original. I would say maybe 3 or 4 inches on the top side here. The whole way across is all part of a new hood. And then on the bottom side, I remember I went in the middle of this cutout here on that lower skin and straight across and forward. All that big chunk there is part of a new hood grafted onto this original hood, because I didn't want to mess with the original cutout of how these are for the hood scoop for these Boss cars. But a lot of work went into the front end of this car. New rails, and I actually got one-piece shock towers that I cut apart so I can use the rail attached to part of a reproduction shock tower. I actually cut it behind this wraparound the whole way on both sides, left and right, so I could re-weld that on the inside, so I can use the original top tower with the wraparounds to cover up my weld wherever I joined those together, because the top side was good, it was the bottom that was blown out. So looking at it from in here, you would never know that it was changed. I recreated all the welds of how they were done, how they section things. You can see there's a weld there, because this bottom section is part of a new frame rail. I just cut it exactly where they had and re-welded it the same way that they did. There's tack welds all along the top of these aprons, and they actually roll the aprons at the corners here where it's meeting these new towers that they had put in at factory, and well, wherever they did these Boss 429 cars. Just recreated all that because these are new aprons. The apron on this side is original, which I had a bunch of patchwork into it to save it, because there's a lot of little differences that you wouldn't normally know about on these cars. There's a lot of differences, especially with this car, but a lot of work into saving a lot of panels on this car. But ultimately, for what this car is, it's worth doing, being the rarest of the rare for the Boss 429 cars. It's worth going through those extra efforts for it. But it was painted the way that it was from the factory. It was actually red oxide. I have a bunch of pictures that the owner took throughout the process of taking apart to document any kind of markings or how things were put together specifically for this car, which included, you can see all the red oxide that was in the pictures that the whole inside of the car was sprayed with. So all that was done the same. The bottom of the car is red oxided. Just some little things are tweaked or changed. Some of this is more so undercoated, where it blends into the red oxide, which you can kind of see on the bottom starting there. Just to give the car a longevity, because this owner doesn't plan on selling it. So there it is. It's my early in the year project here. I plan on having it completed here come spring, summertime. I'm hoping around June I'll have this thing wrapped up. A lot of work ahead, but looking forward to putting this car together and making it as it was coming out of the factory. Just really enjoy the process of putting these cars together. But I'll document some of it along the way, especially to show unique things. It's just cool to know differences, which you wouldn't really know until you're actually diving into one of these. So it's nice to put some of this information out there, just to let it be known on how things were done, like this car with the red oxide. And I mean, just cars were done different depending on what plant they were from and this and that. And there's just variances with all the cars. A lot of the Boss stuff was done similarly, but there's still little differences. So thanks for watching this video. I'll have some more to come here, especially on this and some sheet metal jobs coming in. I have the yellow Boss 302 that you've seen in another video. That's all blasted, cut apart. I got to start putting that together, so I'll have some on that. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.